The moment you get pulled over, officers scan your vehicle through the windows before approaching. They're trained to identify items that give them legal justification to search, detain, and seize. Most drivers don't know that perfectly legal objects in plain view can trigger full vehicle searches, civil asset forfeiture, or arrest. And here's what happens. You think you're getting a speeding ticket, but within 90 seconds, that officer spots something giving them probable cause to escalate. Through tactical analysis of over 200 traffic stop recordings, I've identified the exact items officers target. These aren't illegal. They're everyday objects officers use to justify searches under plain view doctrine. I'm showing you 5 items you should never let cops see in your car, why they trigger searches, and exact counter moves to protect yourself. This is tactical education only. For specific legal guidance, consult a licensed attorney in your jurisdiction. Tactic number 1 is prescription bottles in plain view. Officers move. They approach, shine their flashlight, and spot bottles on your dashboard, console, or seat. The second they see those amber bottles, they're building a case. Here's the real situation. Officers are trained that prescription medications, especially controlled substances like oxycodone, Adderall, or Xanax, are frequently diverted for illegal sale. Multiple bottles mean potential drug trafficking. Even a single bottle triggers suspicion if not in your name, or you're from a state known for pill mills. Why this works? You assume legal prescriptions are fine visible. But officers know sharing prescriptions is illegal, pills outside original containers are suspicious, and multiple bottles suggest distribution. Field reality shows once they spot bottles, they'll ask whose they are. Request examination, look for inconsistencies. Wrong name, off dates, or loose pills in baggies means potential drug charges. Body cam footage reveals officers use bottles as entry points, claiming they give reasonable suspicion to extend stops and call K-9 units. Officer training specifically teaches visible prescription bottles justify further investigation. They ask who owns pills, whether you have documentation, and watch for nervous behavior. Counter move is storage control. Keep all bottles out of sight in closed bags before any stop. If questioned, I do not consent to searches. I'm invoking my right to remain silent. Do not explain medications or show pills. Repeat, I do not consent to searches. I'm invoking my right to remain silent. Strategic advantage. Officers can't search closed containers without consent or probable cause beyond seeing them closed. Keeping bottles hidden and refusing consent eliminates plain view justification. Tactical summary. Never leave bottles visible. Closed containers defeat plain view. Say that 3 times. Now you've protected yourself from the prescription bottle trap, but that only covers one category of items officers target. What about when they spot something that's not just suspicious, but immediately triggers civil asset forfeiture proceedings? That's where the next tactic comes in, and it's resulted in billions of dollars seized from people never charged with crimes. Tactic number 2 is large amounts of cash visible in your vehicle. Officers are trained through programs like Desert Snow to identify cash as drug-related proceeds. Here's their move. During the stop, they position themselves to see into your vehicle. If they spot cash, money bands, or financial documents, they'll ask how much money you're carrying and where it came from. The real situation is civil asset forfeiture allows officers to seize cash if they suspect it's connected to criminal activity. You don't have to be charged with a crime. You don't have to be convicted. If they develop reasonable suspicion that your cash is drug money, they can take it under federal equitable sharing programs and keep up to 80% for their department. Field data shows police have seized over $2.5 billion from people never charged with crimes since 2001. Why this works against you is officers are taught that large amounts of cash, especially over $10,000, indicate drug trafficking. Cash in multiple denominations, vacuum-sealed currency, or money with drug dog alerts all support seizure. Once spotted, they'll ask about the source, your employment, your destination, and any documentation. Inconsistent answers or nervousness escalates their suspicion. Body cam analysis shows the exact script. Officer asks, "How much cash do you have?" You answer honestly. Officer asks, "Where did that money come from?" You explain it's for a car purchase, property down payment, or casino winnings. Officer requests consent to search for more cash or calls a drug dog. Even if the dog doesn't alert, if they believe the cash is suspicious based on totality of circumstances, they can seize it anyway. Your counter move is never answer questions about cash. Your response, I'm invoking my right to remain silent. I want to speak with an attorney. Do not consent to searches. Do not explain where money came from. Do not let them see it in the first place. Keep cash in a locked container in your trunk, not visible from the passenger compartment. Say this now. I'm invoking my right to remain silent. I want to speak with an attorney. Strategic advantage is that without your statements admitting to cash, officers have less foundation for seizure. Silent invocation stops their fishing expedition cold. Even if they see a locked box, they need more than mere presence to justify opening it. Tactical summary: hide cash completely. Silence defeats their civil forfeiture playbook. You just neutralize their cash seizure tactic. But officers have another plain view technique that catches drivers daily. Even innocent household items can become probable cause for arrest if they're visible in your vehicle. And here's the dangerous part. You probably have several of these items in your car right now. Tactic number 3 is small plastic bags, baggies, or sandwich bags visible in your vehicle. Officer training across multiple jurisdictions flags these as drug paraphernalia indicators. Here's the officer's move. They see clear plastic baggies, Ziploc bags, or small containers in your cup holder, center console, or floorboard. Even empty bags trigger their suspicion. In their training, small baggies equal drug packaging. The real situation shows that even though plastic bags are sold legally everywhere, officers are taught to view them through the lens of drug distribution. Pennsylvania case law shows that clear baggies with residue don't automatically constitute probable cause, but officers still use them to justify searches, especially when combined with other factors. Why this destroys your tactical position is officers will claim the bags indicate intent to distribute controlled substances. Even if you use them for legitimate purposes like storing change, organizing small items, or packing snacks, the bags create reasonable suspicion. Field reality demonstrates that once spotted, officers will request a search for narcotics. If you refuse, they'll call a K-9 unit to sniff around your vehicle. Drug dogs have high false positive rates, but a dog alert gives them probable cause to search everything. Body cam recordings show the escalation pattern. Officer sees bags. Officer asks what they're for. Driver explains they're for coins or snacks. Officer says bags are commonly used for drugs and requests consent. Driver refuses. Officer detains driver longer and calls for a dog. Even if no drugs are found, you've just turned a 5-minute stop into a 40-minute ordeal. Officer training specifically covers this. They're taught that packaging materials like small baggies, especially with any powder residue, support drug charges even without actual narcotics present. Your counter move is remove all small plastic bags from your vehicle interior before driving. If questioned about items in closed containers, deploy this response: I do not consent to searches of any kind. Never explain what's in bags or containers. Never consent to K-9 sniffs. Let me drill this tactical phrase: I do not consent to searches of any kind. Strategic advantage comes from eliminating the visual trigger entirely. No bags in view means no plain view justification. Refusing consent and K-9 forces them to justify prolonging the stop, which violates Rodriguez versus United States if they lack reasonable suspicion of other crimes beyond the traffic violation. Tactical summary: 0 visible bags. Refuse all searches. Control your vehicle's interior. That counter move handles the packaging trap. But there's another category of perfectly legal items that officers use as justification for deeper investigation. These items are sold in stores nationwide. You're allowed to own them, but having them visible during a traffic stop can extend your detention and invite unwanted scrutiny. Tactic number 4 is legal items that trigger officer suspicion based on their training. This includes radar detectors, air fresheners, tinted window film, certain decals, and even specific types of phone mounts. Here's the officer's move. They spot these items and mentally categorize you as someone trying to evade detection or hide illegal activity. The real situation breaks down like this. Radar detectors are legal in most states, but officers view them as indicators that you're actively trying to avoid police. Hanging air fresheners or multiple air fresheners suggest you're masking the smell of marijuana. Dark window tint visible from outside raises suspicion even if it's legal in your state. Officers are trained that drug traffickers use these items to avoid detection and cover smells. Why this tactical disadvantage matters is simple. These legal items become part of the totality of circumstances officers use to justify extending your stop. One item alone might not matter, but combined with other factors like out-of-state plates, rental cars, or nervous behavior, they build reasonable suspicion. Field reality shows traffic stops that should end in 5-minute stretch to 20 or 30 when officers spot these indicators. In Texas, marijuana smell is still probable cause for searches. In Colorado and Maryland, smell alone doesn't justify entry, but officers will still use it combined with air fresheners to build their case. Body cam evidence reveals the tactical script. Officer notices radar detector and excessive air fresheners. Officer asks where you're traveling from and where you're headed. Officer asks if you're carrying anything illegal. Meanwhile, they're watching your reactions, looking for more indicators. If you seem evasive, they'll request consent to search. Your countermove varies by item. For radar detectors, keep them stored when not in use or accept that they signal active police evasion. For air fresheners, minimize or remove them entirely from your rearview mirror. For tint, know your state law and have documentation ready that proves it's legal. When questioned, your response remains consistent. Am I free to leave? If they say no, follow with, I do not consent to searches. I'm invoking my right to remain silent. Practice saying this. Am I free to leave? I do not consent to searches. I'm invoking my right to remain silent. Strategic advantage comes from two directions. First, by removing unnecessary visual triggers, you reduce their justification for suspicion. Second, by asserting your rights immediately, you prevent the fishing expedition from gaining traction. Tactical summary: minimize all visual indicators. Assert rights before they build their case. You've just learned to control the visual battlefield. But here's the final and most critical tactic that defeats more drivers than any other. This one involves the plain view doctrine at its most powerful. In understanding, it can mean the difference between a warning and an arrest. Tactic number 5 is any visible open container, loose item, or object that officers can identify as contraband or evidence from outside your vehicle. This is the pure application of plain view seizure authority. Officer move is straightforward. They walk up to your vehicle, look through your windows with their flashlight, and identify items in plain sight. If they can immediately recognize an item as illegal or evidence of crime, they can seize it without any search at all. The real situation under plain view doctrine requires 3 elements. 1. Officer must be in a lawful position. It's a valid traffic stop. 2. The incriminating nature must be immediately apparent. If they recognize marijuana, weapons, drug paraphernalia, or stolen property, that's met. 3. They must have lawful access. Since you're detained at the stop and the item is in view, access is established. Why you lose this tactical position is that plain view gives officers instant probable cause. You can refuse consent all day, but if they can see contraband from where they're legally standing, they don't need your permission. Field reality is harsh. Open alcohol containers in the passenger area, visible marijuana in states where it's illegal, weapons in plain sight if you're a prohibited possessor. All of these give officers immediate authority to remove you from the vehicle and search thoroughly. Body cam footage demonstrates the speed of this. Officer approaches, shines light, spots something incriminating, and within 15 seconds, you're being removed from the vehicle and placed in handcuffs. No questions asked, no consent needed. Officer training on plain view is extensive. They're taught to position themselves for maximum visibility, use flashlights effectively, and identify contraband by sight, smell, or even sound in some cases. Your countermove here is the most important tactical protocol you'll learn. It's called secured vehicle positioning. Before any stop, execute these steps. Engine off, keys on dashboard in plain sight. Dome light on if it's dark. Hands at 10 and 2 on the wheel, visible at all times. Lower your window 2 to 3 inches maximum. State clearly, "Officer, my vehicle is secured. I'll pass documents through the window." This tactical positioning does several things. It demonstrates compliance and non-hostility. It limits the officer's visual access to your interior. It creates a barrier that requires them to articulate additional justification if they want you to lower your window further or exit. Practice this phrase. Officer, my vehicle is secured. I'll pass documents through the window. Strategic advantage is you're controlling their visual access while appearing cooperative. You're not refusing anything lawfully required. You're simply managing the encounter on your terms. Combine this with, am I free to leave? Once they've completed the purpose of the stop. Tactical summary. Secure your vehicle. Control visual access. Limit their plain view opportunities. Now here's the field rule that wins every traffic stop encounter. Control what officers can see, control what you say, and control the duration. The 4 counter moves that apply universally are these. 1. Am I free to leave? This forces them to commit to detention status and prevents unlimited fishing expeditions. 2. I'm invoking my right to remain silent. This stops all questioning legally and immediately. 3. I want to speak with an attorney. This terminates interrogation and signals you know your rights. 4. I do not consent to searches. This removes consent as their legal justification and forces them to articulate probable cause. Right now, say each of these out loud 3 times. Commit them to memory because in the moment of a traffic stop, stress will make you forget unless they're drilled into your tactical response system. Your action step today is this. Go to your vehicle right now. Remove all prescription bottles, cash, plastic bags, and unnecessary items from plain view. Store them in closed containers in your trunk or glove box. Practice the secured vehicle protocol. Rehearse the 4 counter moves until you can deliver them calmly under pressure. Remember, this is tactical education only, not legal advice. Always consult with a qualified attorney in your state for your specific situation. If you found this tactical training valuable, hit that like button, subscribe to this channel, and ring the notification bell so you don't miss the next breakdown. Share this with anyone who drives because these tactics apply to every single traffic stop. You've got the counter moves down. But if you want to complete your tactical preparation, the next video shows you advanced techniques for when officers escalate beyond basic stops. That training is on your screen right now. Watch it before your next encounter so you're ready for every scenario they might deploy. Know the tactics. Own the encounter.